Welcome to the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, paragraph 38, chapter 18 of the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Old Center Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance or members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to the meeting while in progress may do so by watching on your television or on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or online by visiting www.northandovercam.org. Okay, so the meeting now is open. This meeting is a continuance of the meeting that we held on September 22nd. And we are reviewing an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 83 Academy Road on the agenda. And prior to us reopening the hearing, I want to also read pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A, paragraph 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This public hearing of the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen to this meeting while in progress by viewing on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 88, or by visiting www.northandovercam.org. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so. During the portion of the hearing designated for public comment, by emailing your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to Aznoian, AZNOIAN, at northandovermass.gov. Again, that was AZNOIAN at northandovermass.gov. Okay. Now the meeting is open. So where we left off, yes.
Could you tell me who all is in attendance? This
Sure.
is Marty.
Yes. So myself, Marty, I'm here. Hold on 1 second.
And I know Ryan's there.
Laurie's here. Ryan's here. Leslie's here.
Okay.
And yourself. The applicants are Mark's here and Kathy is here.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so where we left off at the last meeting, I guess I had made some comments. Kathy and Mark, the applicants, have updated the proposed drawings and resubmitted those, of which we have now copies of those in the share file. So I would like to finish up and then open it up to the other commission members, and then we'll open it up for the public, and then we'll get to a motion, and then hopefully we can get to a vote. So first of all, thank you, Kathy and Mark, for making some changes. These are actually very nice changes. And Mark, did you want to kind of just take us through the additions that you had on page 4? Probably would be the best, or page 3 and 4, if you don't mind. Mark?
Oh,
Yes.
have we lost Mark?
No, I see him. He's there.
Okay.
Kathy, do you want to maybe?
You think he's muted?
No, I'm looking. He's not muted. He's muted now. Mark, you have to unmute. There you go. He's off mute. Mark? All right, I can't hear him. So
I can't.
I can walk through the proposed changes that are been added to this document. So there's been an addition of 6 brackets in the front of the porch and 2 brackets on the side of the porch. Wait, hold on. Mark?
I'm just going to send him an email.
No,
Can you hear me now?
I can. I know you recalled in, so I can hear
Okay,
you.
yeah, I apologize. I got knocked off once and then my audio was knocked out.
Okay.
So I'm back. I want to
Okay.
just quickly start. I'm glad you can hear me.
Yes.
The first page just has a minor note, which reflects one of the considerations we were asked at the last meeting, which is the direction of the decking.
Okay.
Originally, we showed the decking going parallel to the front wall of the house. This shows it going perpendicular to the front wall of the house, as traditional porches were often done for drainage purposes.
Right.
Really the third page just shows the front elevation and indicates the corbels that we placed at the roof soffits and what I call finials, which are the decorative balls at the top of the arch of that we had placed. Then really, most of the detail is all in the fourth page, the detail sheet, which shows details of really the corbel at the soffit, which are 8.5 inch, both in depth and height, and as well as the finial at the top of the arch, which is has different dimensions, but 2 3/4 thick. It would be a solid mahogany ball, which would be painted or a decorative element. These are very much, I studied closely the photos, which again, had been our inspiration. And then I did additional research of kind of decorative elements of Victorian and or 19th century, covered porch elements, and felt that these were very much in keeping with both the historic period and with our design intent. And so I have to agree that, with your recommendations of the last meeting, they add a certain additional depth and kind of complexity and elegance to this front porch. So I open up for additional questions based on that.
So on the brackets themselves, Mark, are you going to, what material are you going to use on the brackets? I mean, they'll be painted anyways, but
It's a painted. I was hoping to find. I mean, it would likely be a wood product. It could be. I was thinking fir, or kind of a dense type of pine element, but
yeah,
I wanted to give. They have a certain thickness to them
yeah,
that we need to get essentially 4x material to really carve it properly. It could be done in PVC. I went online and saw a lot of PVC corbels, but none of them did I like the profile.
I see.
And I've seen them done, and as you mentioned, they'll be painted either way, and from the ground you wouldn't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually recently purchased a bunch of reclaimed lumber from a reclaimed supplier down near Worcester, and they had multiple 2 and 3 inch type of lumber that you could pick from that was fairly stable, and it was a 12-inch or wider dimension that could be carved from.
Well, I for one like the proposed improvements. I do think it does give the porch more significant depth to it. One question I do have for you, I have two, and then I'm going to open it up. And I think I understand the reasoning. So on this side view on page of the drawing A201, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you and I see strategically you place the brackets sort of with the columns themselves, right? And then you kind of bolster the corner, which I like. I like that. I think it's a good look. But yet the one we have maybe a half column on the house, which makes it difficult because you do center the bracket, right? And would make it challenging to place one close to the house. But looking at it symmetrically, what were your thoughts on that? I mean,
yeah, it's you're clearly experienced in looking at it, because I struggled with that, to be honest. And part of the issue is there is also lap siding on the side of the house.
mm-hmm.
Which makes the integration of a decorative soffit against lap siding difficult. And then I thought,
Yep.
well, you could put a back plate, to it, but that's not the same thing. It feel like it because of the relationship of centering the bracket on the 8-inch post and
Right.
only have a half post, we'd lose a majority of
The bracket.
the bracket. So that along with it kind of meeting the lap siding, which is an irregular surface, I felt like we would achieve the result only really historians like yourself might pick up on it. But I think it's still very effective having it on the outside post, and we weren't losing that much by not trying to force it in on the inside.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it, but
I did.
I agree with you. I mean, I think it would look forced, and I don't think it would look good. And but I just wanted to just hear your thoughts on how what you thought about when you looked at that.
I did consider it, but it just didn't work out.
Okay. And my last question, so the decking is still going to be the dock hickory solid PVC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do I'm still struggling. and I appreciate that you have the perpendicularity. But when we look at the edge cuts of those, I mean, are we going to see a modern, sort of edge cut, of PVC,
It is I could get you an actual sample, and I'm sorry we're not able to meet in person.
Yeah.
They actually, it is a nosing. So number one, it's a nose.
Yeah.
And so you get that nice kind of rounded stair nosing. It is a solid color, but it's color matched to the decking itself. So the decking, I like this vintage collection, and to be honest, I used it on my own porch.
Okay.
It has a texture to the top surface, which gives it the appearance of vertical grain. And it doesn't have the fake wood grain that a lot of these PVC products do, with the more open grains. It looks more like traditional mahogany decking, vertical grain.
Okay.
And so, and there is a texture to it to help it with slip resistance.
Yep.
And there's three colors or so. So there's depth in the color.
Yep.
It's not just a flat looking board. So literally from a few feet away, you have no idea what the material is, which I love. And then they do color match the nosing. But it is a smoother surface than the textured top is honestly the only distinction.
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna push on that because I think overall I think it's gonna look fabulous. So I'm done with my questioning. So I'm gonna open it up. We'll go around to the other commission members, and then I do have comments from the public that I want to enter into the hearing as well. So. Let me go to Leslie. Why don't you give us some thoughts?
To tell you the truth, I was a little skeptical about the additions last time we met, but I am really impressed with the drawings, and I can see where it really added to the front. That little touch of fancy really brings out the Victorian idea of the house. That mansard roof was added on after the house was built, and so the facade of the house itself is very flat, but I think this really adds to it, and it draws that mansard roof into it so that they look like they're better mated, to tell you the truth. So I'm really pleased with it, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, so I took a walk up there. I live right around the corner, so I took a walk by the house a couple weeks ago with my family, and really gave me some good perspective as to what to expect, and really seeing what the patio is, and that this is just going to essentially go over the patio, and that you're adding an awning on the top. And with these extra touches, I really think this is going to be a nice addition to this house. Really appreciate you adding these little touches. I know it's something that's might add to the cost, but I really think it's going to add to the look of the house, and I think it's going to be a great addition.
Okay, Laurie.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I did the same as Ryan. I took a walk by, and keeping in mind the historical examples that you gave, and that the actual pictures that were provided of the porch that used to be there. I think, a lot of attention to detail went into the plans, and it's a really good effort, I think, to try to replicate it and still keep it functional. So I think a lot was done.
Okay. Marty?
Yeah, ditto to all of that. I think that it will be a great help to Kathy to have a porch that she can come in and, snow off the entry door, and I don't know, just the whole idea of recreating something that was there, I think is very appealing. And yeah, I think they did a great job.
Okay. Mike, I'd ask you for comments, but you've been recused, so you cannot give us comments. Not only can you not vote, but you can't sway the vote. Okay, so we've heard from the commission members. Now, I would like to open it, and I do have several emails which I will read for the record. The first email came from Dave and Jen Roberts, who live at 135 Academy Road. And they provided us to the commission on Tuesday, September 22nd, which was prior to the last meeting. Good morning. We would like to express our support for the construction of the porch for Kathy Stevens' home on Academy Road. We look forward to having the beautiful home brought back to its original beauty with the reconstructed covered porch. Sincerely, Dave and Jen Roberts. So we received that email. Received an email from Anita Warden, who also lives on Academy Road. Hi, Harry. I fully support the reconstruction of a porch on the south side of 83 Academy Road, property owned by Kathy Stevens. From what I understand, there was a porch originally at the location of this property of the newly envisioned one. Fits that design. Thank you. Best regards, Anita Warden. We have a third email, which came from Bob Allegretto, who lives at 125 Court Street. For those, Harry, good morning. I wanted to write to let you know that as a neighbor, I support the restoration of the porch at 83 Academy Road. I think this will add to the beauty of the house without taking away from the neighboring views. I hope all is well. Best regards, Bob Allegretto. And finally, we have a email that came from Brad Wakeman, who lives at 140 Academy Road. Dear Mr. Asnoyan and members of the North Andover All Center Historic District Commission, I received an abutters notice concerning the September 22nd, 2020 meeting of the North Andover All Center Historic District Commission, at which the commission is scheduled to discuss Kathy Stevens' application for a certificate of appropriateness to allow her to reconstruct a covered porch at her house at 83 Academy Road. In June 2020, Kathy informed us of her plans and provided us with historical photographs, which I understand she has provided to you. In July, she provided us with the architectural renderings. I reviewed the photographs, plans, and renderings carefully. I support and applaud the proposed project. Her proposed front porch is consistent with the historical photographs, and I believe will enhance the historic rural character of North Andover's Old Center Historic District. And as a big fan of porches, I believe they have society, community, and health benefits. I hope the commission will grant the certificate of appropriateness. Very truly yours, Brad Wakeman. So those are the emails that we have received and comments we have received so far. I'm just checking to confirm that there have been no new emails or questions that have been sent in. There has not. So with that, I'll make a motion, and somebody can second the motion if they choose. And I'll read the motion now because it tends to be a little lengthy. The motion is to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 83 Academy Road for the addition of a historical reconstruction of a covered porch per the drawings and specifications outlined in the document titled Stevens Porch Revised 10/2/20, which is the document that we were reviewing. Can I get a second to that motion?
I second it, Harry. Leslie.
Thank you. Okay, can we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Hi.
okay. Any objection? Any objections? No. So it was 5-0. I also vote in favor of this. So the certificate or the motion for the certificate of appropriateness has been approved. Thank you again, Mark, for and Kathy for taking in the considerations of the commission. What will happen now in terms of the next steps is, given the fact that normally you would get a signed copy of the certificate of appropriateness that you could take to the building department. With the virtual meetings and the COVID, the way that happens now is I fill out the form and I will sign the form for the commission, and it will outline this information, and it'll be sent directly to Bernadette, who will file it with the building department. So there's no need for you to have to unless you require a copy of it, it'll go directly to the building department at which time it'll be attached to the building permit.
That's fine. Kathy, would you like a copy?
Does Mark get a copy, or it all goes to the building department?
It all goes to, well, normally, Kathy, it would go a copy. You would take a copy with you when you left, but you take the original. You take the original, and you bring that to the building department. In this case, I've been just sending them directly to the building department.
Yeah, actually, Harry, I would like a copy. The thing is we have to next go to ZBA because this is extending a non-conforming front yard setback.
Okay, so Mark, would it be okay if I emailed you a copy?
No, that's what I would request. That'd be perfect.
I can scan. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, just scan and give me a PDF.
I can do that, Mark. That's
great.
No problem at all.
That would be very helpful. Thank you very much, Harry. Thank you for that.
No problem. Okay, that's all.
Excellent.
That's all we have for 83 Academy Road. So you guys, Kathy and Mark, you guys can sign off. We have new business. We also have to talk about. So that's our next agenda item. So.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you too, Mark.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Yep. Okay.
Harry, how does this work when we can't physically sign the document?
I sign on behalf of the commission.
Oh,
Basically, the record, my understanding, I'm not an expert, trust me, but the way that it was explained to me was this meeting that the North Andover CAM is continuing to generate to the public is in itself a record. So the meeting video is a record.
Sure.
The paperwork itself is nothing more than to just provide something to be attached that the record exists. So when I sign now, I'm just signing on behalf of the. I will put in what the vote was, that it was 5-0, so forth and so on. So it's all part of the documentation package.
Great.
That's all.
Thank
So
you.
I'd like to go on the agenda, which is part of the reason why I did extend the meeting a little bit, to new business. Okay. So some of you may or may not have been aware. I know Kathy was, Siska, because she was notified as the chairperson of the Historic Commission. But we received an email. The Old Center Historic Commission received an email that I would like to read to everyone that came from Ann and Mike Delaney. Now, Ann and Mike live at 92 Andover Street, which is the small house that, or the house that's adjacent to the Stevens Coolidge area that they've been using for parking. Members of the Old Center Historic Commission. As abutters to the Stevens Coolidge place, it is difficult to stand by and watch as the trustees of reservation, the TTOR, develop the property with very little regard for the historical attributes of the property as well as the neighborhood. The properties entrusted to the TTOR are put into their hands to preserve the properties for future generations to enjoy and observe the property as it once was. TTOR, and you guys know that the TTOR is the trustees of reservation. TTOR does a good job at marketing their properties as beautiful and tranquil locations, while it appears that they are carrying out plans to commercialize the properties. I'm sure that you have seen the most recent plans for the Stevens Coolidge place. One of the many concerns we have, in addition to the loss of the pasture area for a road and parking lot, is the transformation of the historic two-family dwelling at 113/115 Andover Street. For those who don't know, that's the brick structure that they rent out that's to the right of the Stevens Coolidge facing it. Mm-hmm. According to the plan and confirmed by recent discussions with Catherine McDonald, the director of the Stevens Coolidge place, this property is going to be used as their maintenance building. The plan calls for an expanded gravel driveway on the northeast side of the property to allow improved access for their maintenance and employee vehicles. The plans also include moving the compost pile from the back of the property closer to the street. If you have ever observed the evolution of a maintenance or landscape business, you understand the type of destructive creep that takes place as one pile of gravel extends out a few more feet, or the pile of debris, wait, I lost my place. Where the one pile of gravel extends out a few more feet. We are concerned that this property will look like an old dwelling that has deteriorated into a maintenance depot in no time. We understand the reason for this maintenance building is due to the fact that the barn previously located in the pasture has now been destroyed, is being repurposed as a welcome center, and the shed previously used to house much of the equipment is being demolished. With the planned development of the property, a dedicated maintenance facility will most likely be required due to the expansion of the gardens and the increased foot traffic that TTOR is hoping to generate. Perhaps a more appropriate location would be the parking lot of Chestnut Street, which we understand is to be used for employee parking after the property development has been completed. Please understand, we are not against improving one's property. We have made improvements to our own home and have been required to go in front of your committee to explain and defend our plans to the point of debating the use of square versus round posts. If the committee is this interested in how our little house on Andover Street appears from the road, we ask that same concern be expressed when looking at transforming a historical home into a maintenance depot. Thank you for your attention to our concerns, and we trust you will do what you can to help maintain the historical appeal of the Old Center Historic District. Regards, Ann and Mike Delaney. So I know that was a fairly long sort of email, but I think there's a lot in there. There's a lot in this email.
You know, Harry, we had suggested that we ask the trustees to come before us and talk about the various changes and improvements that they are making, and nothing ever happened. So I think that it sounds like a renewed request is definitely in order.
Well, it's a good comment, Marty. I think, I have never spoken with the director, Catherine. She did send me a very brief email, merely stating she wanted to be copied on all of our meetings.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, but that was the only comment she made, and nothing to the effect of, she would like to understand, sort of where our bylaws fit in, sort of what they're doing. What I would suggest, I guess it's going to be, I want to open it up for the commission to take, see what we should do. I would recommend we put a small subcommittee together and then come back to the commission. My concern is several. And again, I think in a cautionary note, I'm not sure that they are aware of all of the requirements and restrictions of the bylaws. I think first and foremost, we need to ensure they understand what those may or may not be. But there are, and one of the more difficult pieces of our bylaw, which is vague in the sense of the mechanism in which property owners have got to come before the commission. So historically, the building permit process has been the mechanism that most of the applications sort of have to go through that gate in order to get their permit. So they have to come to us and get a certificate of appropriateness. But if you read carefully the bylaws themselves, any permanent structure above ground level, so a patio would not be considered a structure because it's ground level. But any other physical attribute, whether permanent or temporary, has to come in front of the commission. A wall would be considered something that would need to have commission review. A fence would require commission review. A pergola would require commission review. If there's intent to take down pieces of the current stone wall, the architectural wall that's on the perimeter of the Stevens Coolidge, and my interpretation of those bylaws would be that any widening or modification to that wall would require commission review. Any additional parking would require commission review. Now I know, I was on it when George Shurinder was chair. When the Stevens Coolidge in the field across from the house on Chestnut Street put up the information board that they have, that information board. That information board, they did come to us in order to get commission approval of the information board, and that was approved. The use of that, field for extended parking spaces was not. We have not approved that field. Now, it was different, right? There's been progress that's been made. All right. When you look 20 years ago, there were probably a half a dozen cars there, at any given time, for, only several of a half a dozen events. They are upping the traffic flow. And so, using that for employee parking or adding, landscape piles or, storing things within, our, historic district zone. Those sorts of things are not things that cannot happen without, in my opinion, our review. The additions of signs, there's a sign that's up with the trustees of preservation have put up. That sign was not approved. The use of a continual, I'm not sure what the name of the tripod sign is, their white tripod sign that they put up. But that's not a temporary sign. That sign is up 365 days a year. So those sorts of things are things within our bylaws, are things that require our input. So I recommend we do a multi-step process where, we take an inventory of possible areas within the bylaws that may require our review or may, need some additional discussion. We can set up a meeting or at least remind, the trustees that the bylaws exist, whether or not they've seen them, and whether they're even aware of the fact that these sorts of things would require review. But that's my sort of perspective on what is happening in terms of, we can't restrict use of the building, but, I do tend to agree that, all of a sudden, you get an evolution of a building, and, what does that really entail? Modifications, does that, are they going to be parking vehicles now within that area? So those sorts of things do need to have further conversation. So I'll open it up, and Mike, you're no longer on silence, so you also can chime in. But I'd love to hear what other people have to say. You want me to go around the room? Mike, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'd be glad to be part of the subgroup, and I think approaching them about this is definitely in order.
Okay, Ryan.
Yeah, I think it's definitely appropriate to approach them and have a conversation with them, so that maybe they understand. This new person that came in, I know she's got a lot on her plate with this big project off of Chickering Road, and now this is the first I've heard of the two-family aspect of it, of them changing that. So I'm definitely a fan. I think that's the best way, and to do it is to contact them and set up a meeting so that we can maybe explain to them the process. They may not know it. But I'd also say that it's not just them. I think there's other people within these districts as well that are doing some things that maybe they shouldn't be doing as well, that we would have to also address, so that we're not just picking on a certain person.
Well, I agree with that, and I totally agree with that and support that. I think that the subgroup may also, as a byproduct of that, I think at one point, one idea in talking with town council was to say, maybe we could, craft a letter together for the residents of the district and include a copy of the bylaws with it, the letter, and reminding everybody that, in fact, that, this is what you're kind of signing up for when you're owning property. It's not for, just some people. It's for every person that's in the district. And that would be at least an initial reminder for people to take into consideration. I think we can also then go around and also, take an inventory, Ryan, as to, some significant violations. I mean, there'll always be some level of, of creep here and there, but there is some significant, I don't, there are some significant things that are going on that we're seeing creep within the district. And so I think, it's within our jurisdiction, by the way, if there's non-compliance to the bylaws, that we can, in fact, notify the homeowner or property owner of those non-conformances and that give them a certain period of time in order to rectify that, or, in extreme cases, we can issue a penalty, a financial penalty for that as well. So we should try to, though, initially just try to, see the path that's, the less confrontational is what I would like to do. So I think that would be a good part to add to that subcommittee as well. So thank you for that. Leslie?
I'd be happy to help with that subcommittee if you want. I have one question. Just how far does our district go in front of the Stevens Coolidge property? Does it go down to that wood lane?
No.
No, not that far. Does it end at the end of the wall for Stevens Coolidge, or does it include the next house?
It ends, I'm looking at the map right now. No, it ends, my eyesight's not as good as it used to be. So there's a 200-foot setback is what we have on both sides of the road. Okay. And then it kind of, it includes Roland's old house.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yes,
Roland. So it goes to Wood Lane.
So then it does go to Wood Lane.
It goes to Wood Lane, but it kind of doesn't go. It does an L shape, if you will, on that. So it kind of takes a right onto Wood Lane, but then it cuts back in and then goes 200 feet. And it also includes the house, the first house on Chestnut Street across from Stevens Coolidge.
Right.
And it actually goes down a little more than 200 feet. So it includes the whole property of that home.
So I'm just wondering, we can only deal with 200 feet of Stevens Coolidge property because, there are acres and acres.
Yep.
And a lot of it would be past our purview.
Correct.
So the brick house makes me very nervous. And I can understand the neighbors' concerns with piles of debris loading up and getting bigger and bigger. That makes a lot of sense. So I think that we need to step in and figure this out. I'm surprised that this wasn't addressed with their early plans. And I've been going to meetings about this, but I haven't heard about the brick house, the duplex at all. So I'm concerned about that and feel like they're just going ahead and not really thinking about anybody else except their own desires. So I think we better nip this in the bud.
Okay.
Well said, Leslie.
Thank you, Michael.
Let me go to Laurie.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the first I've heard about the brick house as well. it is concerning. I've actually done some deep diving into the archives that Stevens Coolidge has placed in property of the trustees. They actually have a digital archive of pictures and documents that was left in the house, and a lot of those pictures are pictures of the house itself. It's funny, as soon as you mentioned that, the first one that popped out is a picture of an Airedale actually in that gravel driveway, and the hedges are the exact same. It looks the same as it does today, and if they're going to be expanding that driveway in any sense, I'm wondering if they will do anything with the hedging. I don't know if that's really within our purview, but it would look different. And I can send those archives around as well. It's just a link. But I think the neighbors' concerns are probably something that we should look at.
Okay.
But I will say, I mean, I'm usually pretty impressed with the trustees and their properties. I think they are well-meaning. So hopefully we can work something out.
I think, Harry, the driveway you're speaking of is the one on the right of the building rather than the one on the left. Is that correct?
I don't know. They did not specify in their, they did not specify that.
Did they say northeast of the brick house in that email?
That is the right side. And I noticed that there was some damage to the stone wall not too long ago where they had it roped off right at the edge of the stone wall as it approaches the driveway.
Right.
So if that's
Yeah,
part of their plan.
It is the northeast side of the property.
Yeah.
It does say that. Yep, you're correct. Improved access for their maintenance and employee vehicles.
So I'm concerned about the wall having fallen down already, and who knows what caused that. So I think it's is of the essence to start a conversation.
Okay. So I have, and Marty, I'd like to also hear your thoughts on this.
Well, as the one and only curator of Stevens Coolidge Place many years ago, that brick duplex is a very significant, I think, structure in the old center. It was built by Mrs. Coolidge's father, Henry Stevens, who thought that the old center was going to become a real commercial downtown, sort of like Haverhill or maybe Salem, and he wanted to get in on the ground floor by having a real urban structure that he could rent out. So I think they moved the tavern off that foundation and attached it to the main house, and then built that wonderful. Well, I really do think that's an important structure, and anything that tends to detract from it is something we should look into.
Okay.
Agreed.
So let me just confirm that would have a subgroup. Mike, you said yes. Leslie, you said yes.
I would love to have
Yep.
Marty join us because of her knowledge of the place.
Marty?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay, that just leaves Ryan and Laurie. I'm not pressuring
I'm happy to
anybody.
do it if you need more people too.
Well, it doesn't have to be like a small subgroup. I mean, we have to also come back to the large group as well. So we cannot negotiate or make decisions on behalf of the commission. It's just to, kind of get some of the information in front of the, in a format that we can get it in front of the Stevens Coolidge. But
Harry, do we have to worry about anything with the open meeting laws if there's too many from the group that get together? Isn't that one of the divisions?
too many of which group?
This group, like, isn't it if more than 3 or something like that meet within a committee, it's considered a public meeting? Isn't that part of the bylaw?
No, that might be true.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Maybe get clarification from the town on that.
I'll ask the town on that. And if that is the case, Ryan, then maybe we'll just run it as just the commission.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just run it as the commission.
Can you call it a study group?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to ask, Leslie. I'm going to ask if, the purpose of the subgroup is just to get information so that we can hold a public hearing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's
Right.
like to get more of the facts, to get more of the information, to get,
So we would be studying the problem and then present to the group.
And then have the meeting.
Right.
All right. I'll find out more on that and then send out an email. But I do think, with I don't know what their timing is, but I agree with the comments being made. I mean, once they start to demo the wall, it'll be too late. So we want to make sure we get out in front of it. So
can we make a recommendation right now that we ask that the building inspector or the building department sends them a formal letter to let them know about that they need to go through us, or does it have to come from us?
I will ask tomorrow. I'll ask if I don't know that the building inspector see that's where to me that's where I think that it's a little gray in terms of the bylaw, meaning that there's no permit that would be issued for them to take down the stone wall. It's just that the bylaws say they can't do that. So what is the mechanism? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
The bylaws say they need the certificate of appropriateness, but what is the trigger? And I think I need to talk tomorrow a little bit more. But let me find more information out. But I am in favor of sending out a formal letter if that would help.
I think we should act on this sooner than later. They are moving right along.
I know. All right. Let me. I'll talk with Jean Enright, who, she will under the planning department. She's been helping provide internal oversight for us a little bit. So let me see if I can have a conversation with her and see what she thinks is the best way to go after this in terms of getting us together. Is there any other new business that we want to talk about?
Nope. Not for me.
Okay. In the same vein, I've been seeing other properties, as I drive around that have, in the district, to Ryan's point, that there's some concerning things that are happening, and, sometimes people don't fully realize what they're doing. But, I do notice there's a home on Mass Ave that, maybe, pushing the limit of some of the things they're doing there in terms of, running a commercial business and so forth out of their home and the impact that has, there's creep, there's, sometimes if you're working from home or you're doing something from home, but it's not really impacting the surround, that's okay. But when you start to, impact the surrounding area, I think it has a negative effect. So there are other things that are happening, and I think we need to, kind of get some of our arms around some of those things if we want to continue to. I mean, because we can't just wait for people to come to us. There's compliance issues. But that's all I have.
Barry, that begs the question too, and I don't want to belabor it, but what are our responsibilities as commissioners in regard to some of that, and are we to be policing the area, or do we just sit back and wait for the applications to come? And,
Well, historically, we have waited for applications to come. And the reason for that is because the old center has been a quiet little area of, just a grouping of properties, of which at one time, Center Realty Trust charter was to have oversight by ownership and managing a lot of what some of those activities happened. But clearly our bylaws, tell us that we have the right to have control over the historic district, particularly what is within the view of clearly visible from public street, and to be able to maintain the district. We've just never really sort of stepped outside of the fact that other than applications, but just to read for you, violation of any of the provisions of this bylaw shall incur a not less than $10 nor more than $100 as defined by the commission, each day constituting a separate offense. That's in our bylaw. So have we done that? No. Have we ever done that? No.
Yep.
And I'm not suggesting it's warranting that, but it is in there. It's in there. I do find that people in this day and age, and I also am on the Machine Shop Village Historic District. People, whether they're aware or they're not aware, I don't know. But when you choose to live in certain restricted districts, it comes with certain levels of responsibility. I mean, just as a and you get contractors that, they just don't go and get the building permit. You got contractors that just, say, no problem, I'll put that in for you. I'm in and out of here in a day. But just as a point in case, the second house in that we approved on Mass Ave, the new house, the on Osgood Street, that second one in, they changed their door. Doors, clearly, you need a certificate if you're changing windows and door. Black and white.
Right.
They put in a mission style door.
I saw that. Yeah.
That is not a colonial door.
No,
Not a colonial
you're right.
house. And so who put that in?
It was really recent, wasn't it?
It was really recent, like within the last 6 months. So I'm just bringing up that, we can go through and see these things, but they didn't go get a building permit. I can tell you that. I didn't check, but I know Paul would not have issued a building. He's meticulous on wanting something from the commissions in terms of being able to provide documentation. So I just, I think we have to come up with a somewhat different approach and certain things, or else we're going to see continued creep throughout the district. And so like I said, it may be as simple as just sending them out a letter from the commission, signed by the commission, with the copy of the bylaws indicating, and helping people understand that, if they don't comply with the bylaws, that, that there are consequences that could possibly happen. And so that they need to help with the compliance. So that's it for now. And I may call another meeting, independent of an application, for us to talk about this once I get more information.
Great.
prior to us talking with Catherine. So just to kind of review what we have and what we find out.
Harry, I have to run. Leslie, I have to run, but I'm happy for another meeting, and I believe this is a good thing to continue talking about. We could have a lot of discussion on this one.
Okay, we're going to end the meeting anyways, Leslie. So
Okay.
do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion made.
Okay, second. Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay. Good night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.